In this lesson, we're going to execute job setup to prepare the part file to create toolpaths. Job setup is a feature that is a required step in Milturn. Much of what we will do in this lesson is not required, but it is best practice. I have the folder for this lesson open on the right-hand side of the screen. I'm going to drag and drop the step file jobsetup.stp onto MasterCam, and MasterCam's translators will open it in MasterCam. So MasterCam has opened the step file, and we have a solid model here. You can see it wants to save it as jobsetup.mcam. You can tell with the asterisk that it's not currently saved. I'm going to go ahead and save this as jobsetupip. So I've got a file already called that. I will save it there. The first thing I need to do is tell it what machine I'm going to be using. We're currently in design. So I'll go to lathe and I'm going to select the default machine. You can see we now have a machine group in our toolpath manager. The next thing I want to do is set up levels. So currently my solid part is on level 1. I'm going to put that, I'm going to double click in this box here. I'm going to put the solid model on level 10. That's where I like to have my solid models. I'm going to create a blank level. I find that handy when I'm trying to sort through my geometry. I'm also going to create a level 20, and I'll tab over here. You can see I'm working down below in the number box, and then I'm going to name it 2D profile, and I'm also going to create a level 30 called toolpath geometry. Okay, so now I'm going to manage these levels as we work through this job setup. So I'm going to select the 2D profile here because this is where we're going to put geometry next. But before I do that, we can look and see that this part is kind of out in space. We can see MasterCam coordinate system here, our world coordinate system here. That's on F9. Turn that on and off. And I want to bring this model down to here. Otherwise, I need to create a WCS out to it, which is a little bit more advanced. So in turning, I have a feature called Align to Z. So I'll select Align to Z, and it says select solid to center on the Z axis. It wants to know the axis of rotation. Now, depending upon which side I pick, I want to pick something that's about the axis of rotation, so I can select an arc. I can also select a face. So I'll select this face here, and you can see what it does. It spins it around and brings the big end out. I have different tools over here to work with this. If I come back and select this side here, it brings this end out. So it is sensitive to which side we're picking on. Now the other thing I'd like to do, and you can see it's starting to move the coordinate system around. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to make this flat here lined up with C0. So to do that, I'll pick the end of the x-axis, and it's going to let me clock it to the part. So I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to clock it to the center of that flat there. You can see that I've got my x-axis centered on this flat. So I'm now ready to work in the panel over here. So if I leave it as it is, it's going to create a WCS. That's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to transform this to a plane in MasterCam. And the top plane is the easiest plane to work from. So I'll green check here. If I had additional geometry, I can move it at the same time. So this looks good. You can see where it's going to move it to, and it's going to move it to the top plane. So I'm going to green check out and see what we get. Now I'll do Alt 7 and take a look from an ISO standpoint, and you can see that our axis of rotation is along the x-axis in the world coordinate system. When we pick a lathe coordinate system, if I come into planes, and I pick D plus Z for my construction and my tool plane, you'll see that Z is along the x-axis in the world coordinate system.